Hi, welcome to my studio. I did my first year of art journaling in books that weren't linen thread bound, and when I wet the papers they had disintegrated. So I bought these quality books. I bought about 5 different books at the start of this year to do my art journaling in, and I used a different book for each theme. Now this was my positive aging book, and I have people from all different age groups and little stories from my life and from other people's life in this book. And that was just one of the journals. I've got another 2 to show you after this. I'm just having a quick flip through. The book isn't complete yet, but it's quite exciting because we're getting nearly to the end of it. So I'll be appraising it, completing in the last few pages. I worked out that I'm averaging completing 1 full double page a day with my art journaling, but I'm not doing it consistently. I'm not sitting down and just doing 1 page. It's very much like the way I paint. I look at the whole painting and I will work on an area. I will do all the darks and then I'll work on the middle tones. And I'm working progressively much the same way. So at the moment I've got a lot of sketches here of people in their senior years, younger people that are not completed because I've gone and done my sketches in one batch. Or I might go and do some paper embellishments in one batch, or I might find a series of lovely quotes that I like and I'll write them out. So I might be working across the whole book in one session, which might last a few days or even a week, and then I'll take another one. So that's why I haven't brought to you spreads where I'm trying to show you a complete page done. And of course I learned a lot while I did these books. And they're not perfect by any means. It was very much a learning experience. I did a lot of working in books before, but it's like I might have used one book as a scribble book. You could call it sketching, but it was very much like scribbling. My husband would be driving and we would be off on a rural tour of Australia, and I would just be doing, look, there's a scene I like. I'd start sketching it, I'd look up, the scene's gone. So I'd turn and I'd do another scene and I'd do little quick notes, and they would really be like, by the time we got to our destination, several hundred quick scribble sketches, and that would fill a book. And I'd sit down in the evening, having arrived where we're going, and get the paints out, and I'd look at those sketches, and it'd be the one that really grabbed me emotionally, that I would sit down and paint from the memory of that image and the brief outline sketch. So that was how a lot of my books were for years, because we were travelling. Of course, then I didn't use books at all. I just sit down in front of the scene and paint alla prima, and that was how I loved painting. So there was years when I never even used a sketchbook, when I was able to sort of go out and paint at the scene every time, or pick the flowers, have them there and paint from the flowers. And then there was other years where I used journaling extensively. In my teenage years I started journaling. It was very important to me. I was very into poetry. I've used poetry again now. They say we become our children, like a child again as we get older. Well, I don't know about that, but it's like I'm actually returning to a lot of the things that I loved doing when I was young. I'm writing poetry and prose again, and short stories, and all those things from my youth. And because I have more time now, well, I don't have more time. I have a lot to do, but I'm not under the pressure of having to go out and earn a living anymore. So the art I do can be the art that I love to do. Not that I didn't always love everything I did, but it's like I'm not having to go out and exhibit it. You put up, hang 100 paintings, stage an art exhibition, and sell to the public. And so that I'm freed from that, and so I can do just what I want. And so I'm predominantly working my art into A5 books, or I'm creating A5 oil painted covers, which I'm doing in my other channel. And my Runchell Alla Prima channel, you'll see me doing the oil paintings if you're interested in that. Here I'm doing the works on paper predominantly, the works that won't smudge, so I can't use my pastels anymore for this type of work. I'm working ink outlines, watercolour washes, gouache, colouring pencils, watercolour pencils, just so many mediums. I've got a lot of marker pens and that, which I will bring into it, which will give me some of the stronger colourings that are perhaps lacking in this work. This is my garden journal, and it's not just a garden journal, it's my learning from my past, how I learned to paint the flower paintings in the tonal impressionist stage. And so there are some prints here from one of my former teachers, a brilliant artist, Pat Moran, you might know her as. And so there's some images here from painting the beauty of flowers in oils, and I reference those. There's also some original oil paintings of mine in here as we get a little further into the book. And I'm learning also a lot about ink colouring, so I'm using a lot of different coloured inks. I've got several hundred coloured inks, which I'm going to actually slow down and actually present one ink a day at one point where I'm showing you the different ink and what they will do. I'm keen to sort of show you what you can do with different art materials. I have bought stencils and stamps and all the traditional crafters art journal materials, and I find they're terribly expensive once you start buying in all those embellishments. It's addictive, and frankly I think if you can learn a few painting techniques, you can save so much money. You have to spend so much money on stencils and stamps, and it really doesn't take that much. Buy a nice fountain pen, bottle of ink, and just, learn some simplistic lines. And you can do a lot of this art journaling even without a lot of art skill, and have it quite effective. And I've, as I said, had so much fun doing this, but I've learned so much. And when I complete these books, I've got to the point where they're no longer what I'm wanting. I'm wanting more, and I'm going for more. I'm going into making my own books now. I'm going to use my very best quality watercolour paper, the Artistico Fabriano good quality watercolour paintings and paper that I absolutely love to paint with, and I'm going to make my books. Yeah, I'm just duck over here for a second. Whoops. There we are. I've been preparing my paper. I've been taking those huge sheets of full-size watercolour paper that I already own, and I have been folding them into sections, which I will then sew these up into book-bound books. Now, rather than sewing up a book and going to all the work of fancy embroidery down the side and covers and decorating them, and perhaps doing a painting that isn't exactly what I want, I'm going to paint these up beforehand and think smart. So I will make sure that the books that I want to keep as investment quality rare books, I will make sure that the work that goes in them is good before I go and sew them all up, because I'm blown if I want to unsew and re-sew if I didn't like something I did. So I'm going to start tonight with these, and I'm needing some help. I'm living in aged care here, doing my art studios here in my bed sit room. I'm still having a successful time being an artist, even here in care. And I have to go to hospital in 2 days' time to get some work done on my knee. It's quite common when you're in your 70s. No big deal, except that I need to get my little dog minded. So a lovely lady here has offered to mind Tessa. Probably take her down to Lake Dalesford for a walk. So I know she likes Lake Dalesford because she's mentioned it. So I'll be doing a watercolour tonight on one of these. And I hope to start doing a series of watercolours with pen work, maybe using other mediums, gouache even, and watercolour pencils, whatever. So I'm working mixed medium, as I said. And I will put these together. I think I'll be keeping them for my family as something to hand down to them. But I will be doing one tonight, which instead of going into the book, will be a lovely thank you card. So that's what art is wonderful for. It can be anything from a craft card right through to an investment work. You can do what you like with it. I should be talking about some of these works, but they represent the full range of art materials, from watercolours to coloured inks. This one here is done with coloured inks. This one here is an acrylic painting, the one of the bird. And here we've got a lot of paper embellishments to poetry and prose and that I've written out in coloured inks as I'm learning about the different coloured inks. We have a mixture there. There was a photograph within that. So that's a little photograph that I'm going to stick over an ink painting. And here, this one was done with Copic pens. And a little sketch of 3 boys who helped me pack from my last home to come here. I love that. Little schoolboys offered to help me when nobody else was available to help me. I treasure those things. Just some sketches that I do in the car. Those very quick sketches, they went in there. Here, there's fast sketches of a dingo. The page is gone now. And then some stories. This is another fast sketch. It's worth keeping. It has memory to me. That was a mural that I did for an aged care home. Walk past sketches. They were scenes that I love and I would like to paint them one day, so I've included them in this. This is my rural, or my landscape book. My little doggy, the previous one that I owned. A little fast story there about, funny story. I like to write. I'm trying to write with humour. I'm trying to paint with humour. A little gouache of the bees. And again, stories that I'm learning about my coloured inks. So I've just ordered a couple of 100 vials, empty vials, and where I'm going to show people inks, like I might show you a particular red of a particular brand, and then I might show you a yellow of another brand, and then I've got these little vials, and I'll put, say, 3/4 of that red with, 1/4 of that yellow together, and I'll show you the combination of mixing, and then 50-50, and show people that they can mix their inks and produce new colours, just the same as you can mix colours with, say, watercolours. So you don't have to have, say, 100 bottles of ink like I've got or more. You can perhaps, just buy your primary colours in a certain brand. I wouldn't go mixing brands, but you could, maybe get, just a more affordable range of coloured inks in brighter colours and learn how to mute or tone down your brighter colours. So for instance, you need natural colours for this Australian landscape. If you want natural colours, you've got a bright red and you don't want to work with bright red, you can grey it back and make it more a red brown by putting the opposite of red, which might be taking one of your bright greens, which might be too green for you to want to write with. You put a bit of that green in with your red ink. It's the same brand, it should work. Make sure you stir them up well before you start, and you'll get yourself a muted tone, or sort of more of a red-brown tone. That's the beauty of learning to mix. So I'll be going into that. I hope you'll join me for all of that. Now, with my oil painting, which is on the other channel, the tutorials for that are in my Patreon.